So the Ladies Football All-Stars for 2020 will be announced this weekend. The Team of the Year, the Player of the Year and the Goal of the Year will be revealed on Four na Blina, a special show on TG Car on Saturday night. And to look ahead, I'm joined on the line by former Daisha forward and TG Car analyst Michelle Ryan. And I suppose, Michelle, we'll start with the big one, the Player of the Year. Amy Mackin from Armagh, Carla Rowe of Dublin and Sinead Goldrick of Dublin are the three in the running. We'll start off with Amy Mackin. Why is she one of the top forwards in the game right now?
To be honest, Tomas, I think Amy Mackin is probably a name that's on most people's lips this year. Do you know what I mean? Because in fairness, she has been, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the standout players, if not the standout player of the Ladies Football Championship in the 2020 season. There's no denying the talent that she has. There's no denying the natural ability that she has. But I suppose when you think that even this year she came back, I suppose you have to give a bit of context as well. She came back from a bad cruciate leg injury last year. Her first few games then were, I suppose, in club matches there in the build-up to the season. And then she performed for Armagh, and in 3 championship games she came back with a tally of 5-17. And that's someone who's not kicking place balls. You know what I mean? So 5-17 is an incredible tally to rack up in 3 games, and you have to put that into context as well. I know their first game against Tyrone, it was I suppose it was a game for attacks. There was a lot of goals in it, so it was a bit more free scoring. But she also, Armagh contested games against Mayo and against Dublin. So you're talking about the All-Ireland semi-finalists of last year, the All-Ireland winners of the last 4 years. You know, and to rack up such incredible scoring against such tight-knit defences with extremely experienced forwards, I mean, that's a testament to any player. And some of the scores that were on show from her this year, I mean, they were just absolutely sublime. Whether it's whatever sport it is, they were just probably some of the pick of the scores of the year, to be honest. So there's no doubt in my mind that she should be within that mix.
Yeah, 5-17 is something else, and I think for anyone should check out the goal against Dublin, like the dummy hop, finishing the roof of the net. It was just a quality score, and just turning to another goal getter, Michelle, Carla Rowe from Dublin. Was she the star forward for the Sky Blues this season?
Do you know what? Carla Rowe has probably, I suppose a lot of people over the last number of years have focused really on the likes of Sinead Ahern and maybe even Noelle Healy to a degree. And Sinead, there's no doubt that Sinead Ahern is kind of the orchestra in chief there, chief orchestrator, there in the attack for Dublin. But the thing about Carla Rowe is she is such a potent forward and has probably been allowed maybe a bit more freedom in her play in the last year, or else she's just come into her own in her play in the last year, and she's really becoming one of the leaders on the team there now. We saw this year when Sinead Ahern was troubled by injury and had to come off in games, whether it was the All-Ireland final itself and in games leading up to that Carla Rowe stepped into that gap that was there, be it free taker, be it taking on defences and getting vital scores at vital times. And she really has come into her own in the last, I would say, 18 months, 2 years, as a really, really dangerous player. Very, very athletic. I mean, whether it's goal scoring or point scoring, and I mean, she's very, very, I suppose, versatile as well, moving around the pitch. And that's the thing about the Dublin attack, and that's the danger to them, that they have this thing that when players are maybe hampered through injury or not performing, that people are willing to step up, and none more so than Carla Rowe this year. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I suppose another player that really stepped up to the plate, Michelle, was Sinead Goldrick, and you picked her as the player of the match in the All-Ireland final against Cork. What makes her such a formidable defender in your view?
I think in that game, I mean, that was a funny game, to be honest, Tomas. It was a game where it was very, I suppose, in the first half, we saw some weaknesses in Dublin, which we wouldn't be used to seeing too often. And Cork exploited them in the first 15, 20 minutes. And there was gaps there in that defence. And Cork were able to sneak in for scores, and they got a goal for Tyrone O'Sullivan at the start. And, you know, what we weren't used to seeing was Dublin chasing back after defenders. Normally, they're very well set up and they build an attack straight away. But I suppose when they got to regroup there at half-time, when they came out in the second half, Sinead Goldrick really led that charge from the half-back line. It was a lot more organised. They were, as I said, facing the attackers coming at them. And she attacked the game with real aggressiveness, with real vigour. And really, I mean, she cut out some vital balls going up her wing or coming up just off centre in the pitch. cut them off, set up some fine scores with that. And she has an aggressiveness to her play, a doggedness to her play that really is inspirational to those around her. And I think her taking back control of the game for Dublin with a number of players around her and bringing the game then to Cork and playing that typical Dublin style football. She really contributed to the resettling of Dublin in that second half. And then obviously all the other players kind of followed in along, and they went back to the Dublin style that we've come to know in the last number of years. But there's no doubting, I suppose, Dublin are known for their aggressiveness. They're known for being ruthless in the tackle, and she would be a key player in that.
Yeah, Sinead Goldrick was definitely the main aggressor in that final, Michelle. So she's nominated alongside her teammate Carla Rowe and Amy Mackin from Armagh. So to nail your colours to the mast, Michelle, who was your pick for Player of the Year for 2020?
Tough one there now, Tomas. To be honest, if you're asking me who stood out to me, game on game, consistency wise, inspirational wise, performance wise, I think to my mind it would be Amy Mackin. Like I said, the display of scoring that we saw from her against such potent defences and such dangerous teams, but she was willing to take it on, and she was inspirational. And she was inspirational in the game against Mayo. She really took it to Dublin as much as she possibly could. I just think she's had probably the best season of her career to date, so I think she would be fully deserving if she was to win it.
So Amy Mackin from Armagh is Michelle Ryan's choice for a ladies footballer, a Player of the Year will be revealed on Saturday night on TG Cahir. And just looking at some of the names that might be around the All-Star selection, Michelle, of course, Cork are runners-up to Dublin in that All-Ireland final. Which of those Rebelette players are in the shake-up in your view?
Do you know what, Cork, I suppose, there's a good few old reliables in there in the mix, definitely. I think the likes of Melissa Duggan obviously had a very good campaign as well. She was very prominent, especially in the semi-final, and was very prominent in the game against Kerry earlier on in the championship. So I think she could be in the mix there again. The likes of, I suppose, you also had the likes of Ciara O'Sullivan. Was, I suppose, when Cork were struggling in matches to get attacks going, she was very, she stood up. She's a good leader on the team, and she takes on other defences, but also the likes, I suppose, the names that were coming through as well this year, especially Saoirse Noonan, had a big impact on the championship for Cork. Maybe had her quiet game in the All-Ireland final, but in the lead up to that, she was definitely featuring for Cork a lot, and Cork need that in their attack. I think, they are quite a very strong team, and they're very strong from the back building up, and I think they just need to have a few more potent scoring threats up front to kind of trouble the likes of Dublin. And she posed that. She is a scoring threat, and she did contribute well to the championship as well. Who actually stood out for me for Cork this year, and it was her first season in the Cork jersey. She came on in the first game against Kerry. I think Aoife wasn't too happy with how defence was doing in the first half, and he made a few changes. A girl called Erica O'Shea, who came into the wing back line, and she secured her place from that game on, and I was really, really impressed with her, and was not one bit fazed by making her debut in a Cork senior team, and really took each game as it came. Very, very tricky defender to get around, tenacious in the tackle, had speed as well. So she seems to be a very, very confident and also very capable player for Cork to build coming up in the years. But I thought she had an excellent actually first campaign with Cork this year.
And outside of the main counties, Michelle, obviously we're expecting Dublin and Cork to dominate the lineup. Amy Mackin is a shoe-in, obviously. Any other players from any other counties? Aisling Maloney from Tipperary, perhaps?
Yeah, look, and like you said, you will probably expect the likes of Dublin and Cork and the likes of Amy Mackin to definitely feature. I think, the thing about this year's awards as well is it's done differently. It's not necessarily the same traditional All-Star awards this year. So you also have, it's teams of the year, so for the different grades. So there you might see maybe a bit more of a spread among the different counties, which would be a great thing as well. I mean, if I was to pick out just, you mentioned Aisling Maloney there. Aisling Maloney is probably one of the best footballers in the country, to be honest, and she always stands out on the tip team, and she's key to that tip team and to that threat. She has that very athletic style. She's very dangerous moving forward. Slightly similar in that, I suppose in her approach to Amy Macken, they're well able to weave their way through defences, and it's very, very hard to stop them. And the height as well also makes them a great target to have. So I think Aisling Moloney could be in the mix there, absolutely. But even if you look, I suppose, to some of the other teams, even in the likes of, we'll say, Galway, to me, I thought Louise Ward was still absolutely inspirational for them in midfield. She is a leader who covers every inch of grass on that pitch, and she fights to the absolute death, and she did the very same this year. There's a few other young players in the likes of Armagh, maybe the likes of Aoife McCoy, who was playing centre forward, Catherine Marley. I thought Clodagh McCambridge, their full back, actually had an excellent year as well this year in the backs, and she was, I suppose, instrumental in some of the, especially in the key moments of the Mayo game, when Mayo were trying to make a resurgence back in the end of the game, and she cut out some very, very dangerous attacks. So I thought she had an excellent year this year. And then, like you said, I mean, Roisin Howard for Tip also had a good year. You had the likes of Niamh O'Neill and Tyrone and Kerry. I thought Hannah O'Donoghue, Siofra O'Shea and Louise Murr-Hertig. Now, maybe it's my bias being a forward, all these forwards kind of generally to stand out to me as well, but like, it's hard to say, I suppose, as to whether it'll be spread out and whether the first round or two of the championship, how much emphasis will be put on that. I mean, we all know that with these kind of awards, generally the huge amount of emphasis is put on the likes of the semi-finals and the finals, and we expect to see those 4 teams featuring heavily in them. But that's not to say that there's not players in other counties who are definitely in the mix for consideration.
Well, Michelle Ryan, great to hear your passion for ladies football as always. Thanks a million for your time today, and enjoy the ladies football All-Stars on Saturday night.
Thanks a million, Smalls.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Stay safe, take care, and until next time, slán go fóill.
Lorna Porca with Tomás McCarthy on WLR.